This is Akashvani. In the weekly program Current Affairs, now we bring you a discussion on India's unprecedented digital progress with Aadhaar. The participants are Jiten Kumar Jain, IT expert, and N.K. Singh, political analyst. Lalima Aneja is moderating the discussion.
Aadhaar has been a revolutionary concept giving further impetus to the Honourable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi's vision of a digitized India. Our Bharat is now more digitized than the so-called developed nations, as the pandemic revealed. Well, we are now in the next phase of digitization, going more high-tech, and since 2021, through the face authentication through the Aadhaar card. Well, face authentication transactions for service delivery has gained a lot of momentum, touching an all-time high of 10.6 million users in May. This is indeed a great step forward. We have with us political analyst Shri N.K. Singh and IT and cyber expert Shri Jiten Jain with us. Welcome to our program. Well, let's start with a very important question. May I ask Mr. Singh, Aadhaar has been there, it was the brainchild of Mr. Nandan Nilekani. Where do you see it going from here? I mean, the fact that now we have moved from just the number to now face identification, what difference has it made to the economy of the country, the whole social milieu that we have, such a diversity that we have, a rural, there's a Bharat there and there's an India there. How do you view that, sir?
Lalima, I won't shirk from the stock responsibility and particularly the owners that when Nandan Nilekani introduced Aadhaar, even we criticized saying that our individualism will be completely smashed. And the stock presumption was that Aadhaar is an instrument which will give every detail to the government and to the market forces. But today when I see the benefits, the quality of governance which has substantially improved just because of one technological innovation. So you can imagine, see, when a welfare state we take up governance, two things are very common. One is, in a welfare state, how do you deliver? And second is, what exactly is the product that you deliver? Here, there is one product which is intangible and in terms of money. Immediately, along with that, bank accounts were opened. Today, you will be surprised to know that direct benefit, it is straight away going from the government end to the beneficiary. There is no intermediary in the whole process. Absolutely. And you know what happened in a corrupt system, which we have. We should not shy away from this fact that ours is a downright used to be corrupt system. Society is such. In such a situation, government has minimized the human interaction in governance, particularly so far as delivery of welfare products are concerned. With the result that corruption was completely eliminated in the entire process, and end user, the end beneficiary, is getting money directly to their account. That's one. Even when it is a product delivery system, suppose you have to deliver 5 kg. Now you can imagine just by Aadhaar identification, you get the real beneficiary. And in addition to that, today when I was studying this face identification, I said how greatly it is going to benefit common man. Normally in India, you will not find people are not very technology savvy. But the way an old man sitting in a remote village, simply by face identification, he will get all the benefits that the government is going to give. And you know, yesterday, when the cabinet meeting was held, there was a figure reeled out to the face. And that every household, farmer household, is getting 55,000 rupees as accrual from various programs. Now you can imagine that this will go completely corruption-free. And this will reach end user in form of kind, in form of cash. So you can imagine the kind of quality of improvement, the quality of governance. That is phenomenal. You remember what Prime Minister had said long back, that when I'm sending 1 rupee, only 15 paisa is reaching the end beneficiary.
Yeah, the former Prime Minister.
Now, so hats off to this new technology and its implementation, how you use that technology and to what kind of advantage. I think this quality of governance has substantially improved.
Right, sir. Mr. Jiten Jain, we would like to ask you, since you are related to the IT industry, for our common listeners, what exactly does face authentication of Aadhaar card mean? Does it mean that you have, is there anything else apart from the Aadhaar card that you've already made, or is it's just that, the face that is there on the Aadhaar card? Could you just explain that, sir?
See, Aadhaar is basically an identification mechanism using your KYC data and biometrics. Now, your biometrics include your facial biometrics, your other biometrics like iris scan and your fingerprints and all. So, initially when Aadhaar was launched, we were able to do Aadhaar-enabled KYC or Aadhaar-enabled transactions using your Aadhaar number and one-time passwords or using fingerprints, what you call it, biometrics. Now, this usually takes 5 to 7 seconds or sometimes 6 seconds. Sometimes there is no mobile connectivity where Aadhaar OTP is not coming. So, a new mechanism was introduced, especially which is completely, it does not require any human interface, any machine interface in terms of you touching a machine. So you can do facial verification to access your Aadhaar enabled transaction. For example, if you want to open a bank account, so earlier bank would take your Aadhaar card, your details, they'll fill it up and then they'll send you an OTP or you'll have to go to the bank to put your thumb on a machine. And now you can do just over a video call using an Aadhaar enabled facial verification. So, especially in the COVID times when you didn't want to touch any machine or any gadget, I think facial verification was the emerging phenomena. But initially when facial verification was launched, people thought that this might not take off because of the bandwidth of, internet connectivity which is required, the speed which is required. But I think today we have seen that we are touching almost 9 million transactions on facial biometrics-based verification. So I think this is a huge leap for Aadhaar. And, you have to understand, Aadhaar is just not a unique ID what you carry. It is basically the backbone of entire digital public infrastructure which has been created in India over the last 7 to 8 years. So your entire ecosystem today, which is, a UPI or Paytm or, PhonePe which are using this UPI, all those, bank accounts are Aadhaar linked and then UPI is being used over them. So entire payments ecosystem is today driven by Aadhaar. You look at the entire digital, direct benefit transfer economy, be it subsidies, be it other benefits or be it, everything is Aadhaar linked. So Aadhaar is just not an identity. It is basically your backbone of your COVID vaccines, your COVID certificates, your payment ecosystems, your, verifications, your bank account, any sort of verification you are doing for opening a new account or linking a PAN card made or an election ID card made or a passport made. Everything today is linked to Aadhaar. And Aadhaar, imagine Reliance, for example, wanted to acquire almost, 1 billion customers, connections in different ecosystem in 6 months when the Reliance Jio was launched. So imagine if you're doing millions of verification every week, you would require thousands and thousands of people, running on streets, going to houses, doing physical verification. And imagine the cost, imagine the time. Now, this was done in flick of seconds using Aadhaar and the entire digital public infrastructure. Now, this will become more robust once the facial verification is introduced. You can use it for liveliness certificates for pension people who are obtaining pension benefits. Earlier, they had to run to government offices to prove that they are alive. They literally had attendance and prove that they were alive. Now, you can do Aadhaar-enabled facial verification and prove that you're alive. You can mark attendance. You can do everything online. So, entire, benefit ecosystem, especially of pensions for senior citizens, everything will change. Sitting at home, they'll be able to do it in 5 to 10 seconds instead of spending the entire day in a government office. So, that's the power of Aadhaar, which is now going to further amplify using facial verification.
Truly, it will change the ease of living and ease of doing business are far more efficient.
Just to complete, not even ease of doing business, your everyday public life, delivery of government public services. For example, we had seen the queues at Delhi airport. Not because our airport was that, we have got one of the biggest and the best airports in the world, but the kind of population size we have, the kind of airport traffic we had, despite of new terminals coming, there was queue.
Yes. And
today people are using DigiYatra, which is again Aadhaar-enabled KYC mechanism, a facial mechanism. You just show your face to a camera and just walking into the airport without showing any ticket or, any ID, because everything is online, stored in a Aadhaar-enabled KYC database. You had to physically carry RC, license and whatnot, and mess with a traffic cop who would harass you even if you're not carrying a single document, pay bribe. Today you don't need to carry any document at all. Just show him on DigiLocker, because DigiLocker is also a part of public infrastructure and is Aadhaar linked. So I think Aadhaar is changing everything what was missing in India's economy. And today I think we have gone ahead of Americans and Europeans in terms of digital KYC and digital payment ecosystem. And this is purely because of the Aadhaar and our public infrastructure. Now, facial verification, just imagine the scope that you will be able to do any sort of government verification sitting at home. You can form a company, you can get a certificate, you can get a birth certificate, a character certificate, anything in the future will be just facial linked Aadhaar verification.
Right. Well said. Mr. Singh, I'd like to ask you that has the government made mandatory to link Aadhaar with the Jan Dhan accounts? It has been trying, but there have been some hiccups. And how does it help in the remote areas? Does it help because there the infrastructure may not be so good?
I'll give you an example and contrast it with a new situation. It was way back in 15 years ago. My 5 reporters were deployed, pressed into service. We came across a case where a private nursing home had carried on tubectomy to some 100 villagers. When our reporters went there, we found that they are all male members. Male members do not have uterus, but it was removed on papers. Today, it is impossible. This kind of system that we have been having all these decades, that will be completely out of sync. In Manrega case, you will find that people who had been given money for their work had died 10 years ago.
Yes.
It was way back, some 10 years ago. We came across a case. Today, it is not possible. Because of these new innovative methods of technology, this will not be possible. So one, elimination of pen of this country's governance, that was corruption, that will be completely eradicated. Second, the kind of that I am a senior citizen, I get some kind of pension. 2 years ago, I had to go to my bank thrice, and every time the manager, and he was very cooperative, but he said, sir, network is not working. That was one. Second day, there was some problem. Every time I had to go to bank for the life certificate. Last year, pension official, when I said I am senior citizen, he personally came and from his mobile, he got my facial identification and immediately it was cleared. You can imagine the kind of benefit is going to aid. Moreover, it is going to be cost effective. This entire governance process and delivery mechanism, it is going to be highly cost effective. So I would suggest that the entire country should be well covered in this scheme. And that will be the best way we can eradicate corruption, depend of Indian society, eradicate corruption and speed up. I remember when I was interviewing a chief minister, and every time I was comparing his parameters with another state, the chief minister said, well, Mr. Singh, you are not understanding. For giving delivery to the delivery of a product, staff has to travel long distances because my population density is very low. This is not the case with the states which you are comparing. They have population density, so the product can be delivered at one place with comfort. Today, this is completely immaterial. You can deliver the product in terms of cash, kind, without bothering about whether it is a con man, whether he has impersonated himself, because face is there. And all records are there, like in a bank. So the moment you move from here, your entire identity is available. So one, crime will be completely, there will be substantial control on crime.
Yes.
There will be
cybercrime.
Delivery mechanism will be will be fast expedited.
Yes.
And I think overall governance will be completely overhauled and better. It will emerge as one of the finest governed country in the world.
Well said, Mr. Singh. Moving on to you, Mr. Jiten, may I play the devil's advocate? If the picture on the Aadhaar card doesn't match with the person, because a person can change if he puts on weight, is the system geared up to incorporate this kind of change? Also, like senior citizens, their face profile may change. Are we equipped to handle that kind of a situation technically?
Aadhaar verification or facial verification does not match your photo, what is there on the paper and then how you look. It doesn't work that way. It is basically an artificial enabled facial recognition mechanism which compares almost 27 characteristics on your face. So even if you become fat, lose weight or something, even after 20 years, your face will match. So what you have, it's basically a live biometrical data about your face which is stored in an Aadhaar database, and the verification is done over a live video mechanism. So you are not just simply showing your paper Aadhaar to someone for a facial verification. Your photo is matched again using a facial recognition technology against the photo which is there in the Aadhaar database. And even if your face changes for 20 years, they have not deployed the technology today, but if they want, even if you are wearing a watch, they can recognize your face by using your eye characteristics, your ears, your expressions and different facial characteristics. So, don't worry about it. These are misconceptions that my face will change. These are all, rumors which are spread by people who do not want technology to be adopted in India for their own vested reasons. So, it is a perfectly dynamic, very robust system which can match face under different conditions in low light with a bit of changes. So, with growing age and everything, everything will work. Facial verification is completely artificial intelligence enabled.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to point out. Probably it's all AI related, which again the Prime Minister talks about so often. He's a man of vision, and whatever we are doing now, he's thinking of it with a vision in mind. How should we match the world standards after a few years? That's how a Prime Minister thinks, and that's his vision. Great to hear that, Mr. Jain. Another question I'd like to ask you, Mr. Jain, is that what happens to things like OTP and moving towards erasing that as well?
No, they will continue to work. It is a choice of convenience you might make. I mean, if you're opening a bank account, then, Aadhaar KYC-enabled verification also works using an OTP, but then you might have to go and do a physical signature in the bank, or the bank might come to you for seeking a fingerprint. But if you're doing a live facial verification-based KYC, tomorrow bank may say that this is sufficient. I mean, I'll give you another example. The photo is a proof of who you are, but a live video is also a proof whether you're alive or dead. It is a liveliness check you are passing. So in a case where your liveliness check is required, for example, if you're a director of a company and you have to do an annual KYC, so you can do a liveliness verification using the online link which, many of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs affiliates are sending. If you are a recipient and beneficiary of pension benefits, you don't have to go to a hospital, get a certificate that you are alive, and then prove yourself by marking attendance in a, government office in front of a babu and get harassed. You can, by doing a live facial verification using Aadhaar.
That sounds really great. And I think
somebody could have your mobile and give an OTP, but for facial verification, it has to be you, and you have to be present, and you have to be alive.
Right. That really sounds great. We are indeed moving miles ahead now as far as digitized India is concerned. Mr. Singh, coming back to you, do you think that this will result in reducing cybercrime and save time? I almost kind of draw a parallel between FASTag and facial authentication through the Aadhaar card. That it will save time, it will bring in efficiency. What more do you have to say on this? Of course, it will also bring in security, as I can gather from what Mr. Jain is saying, that it will also add to the security features. There have been a few cyber crimes, and this will kind of secure a person and insulate a person from cybercrime. Do you think I'm right?
See, all crimes are born out of either impersonation or concealment of your own identity. That is how it gets generated. Now, in this case, all over the world, your face is recognized, is there in the records.
Yes, even in international airports, they see your face, and when you go to the passport check.
Just 1 minute. And so many features are there, as Mr. Jain has said.
Yeah, 26 features.
And some can be added, which cannot be eradicated, which cannot be wiped away. So, in this case, crime will be substantially lessened, and then identification of criminal. You can imagine the way genetic science has been applied in criminology, how remarkable changes have taken place. Now, if somebody rapes somebody, it's simply by taking DNA, you can ascertain whether that person is culpable or not. So you can imagine application of modern technology, and particularly AI. AI is going to herald a new era altogether with governance. Yes. And therefore, I often suggest that this is high time when our students, our young generation, must be technology savvy, because this is AI era. And AI era, you cannot be completely bereft of this benefits of this technology. So my contention is that in the days to come, AI and this face identification, this is going to herald a new model of governance, which we cannot envision at this juncture. So our days ahead will see some remarkable change, and it will all be very cost effective and corruption free. Yes. So you can imagine the kind of governance we are going to have in the days to come will be altogether different.
Do you see any privacy issues there, Mr. Singh? Again, I'm trying to clarify, because Aadhaar has collected a lot of data. I mean, we are a huge population. We are actually, it's gigantic. Our numbers are really, really huge. We carry so many countries together at 140 crores. So has the Aadhaar card proven to be a kind of assisting the government in data collection? And how does this feature of face authentication, does it add to that?
Lalima, very valid concern, and I am also completely engrossed in this matter. See what happened recently, some Aadhaar data, particularly those pertaining to the vaccine, those who have used vaccines. That data was somehow stolen and given to somebody. You know its origin. A young man sitting in a village had stolen from his mother, who was a nurse. He had got the password, and how he managed and the entire data, maybe in a few crores, where that data were taken away and it was used. I don't know what benefit he got out of that. Now the question is, if man sitting in a village can do this, government must be very cautious about, very chary about these things. That data theft should not be there. So far as privacy is concerned, now nobody is much bothered about privacy. But yes, when you apply AI, the moment, suppose for example, you visit Google and you search for some hotels, next 5 minutes you will be bombarded with information about hotels in Kashmir, their price and all that.
Yes.
How does it come about? Because somebody is getting those data. So AI is very important, but it has to be applied with some element of rationality and some caution. And that caution, like there must be some gate so that the data cannot be sent outside. And particularly for market forces. See, the problem at this juncture is that what is my proclivity? What is my predilection? How I use things? Everything is there in the market because of this AI. So now the concern is only this, that my privacy should not be jeopardized. And I think government is quite concerned about that. Occasionally this may happen. But if you weigh on a balance, the benefits that it is going to accrue will be far more, I mean, many times more than the inherent danger of losing privacy. And it is not really the privacy that we are going to lose. If we are a gentleman, we are law-abiding, I don't think the kind of privacy, like my choice, my food choice, if it is somehow stolen and given to market forces, I don't think, because then ultimately it will come whether I take that product or not. So therefore, I don't think it is weighing on a balance. I don't think the privacy factor should stultify this whole process. Kind of benefits we are going to get in the days to come will be phenomenal. So therefore, this is high time that our youth get completely used to this new technology, particularly the AI, and education system should also be evolved in such a way that India becomes a leader in this entire exercise.
Right. To add to what you said, educational system, I also thought that cyber laws got to be in place, because we know that US, despite being such an advanced state technologically, their algorithms allegedly affected the US elections. So we have to be careful. I think we need to have laws, we need to have education, we need to have technical education to everybody. We need to give that to everyone, whether it's rural or urban India. Mrs. Singh, what future dimensions do you see of this whole idea of face authentication through the Aadhaar? And how does India live to its full potential through this feature?
The recent study that was carried out by the Education Ministry, particularly the NCRT, it has got a cell which had carried out this study, and they found that South Indian students are more inclined to science education, and conversely, North Indian students, particularly a few states, they are more interested in subjects of arts. I have no quarrel with that. I mean, it is choice, I mean, whatever subject you take. But there must be some basic level of technological education which every student, every man in this country must obtain. That is the prime condition. Because days ahead, you see, as you go to airport, you will have to feed a few things to expedite your entry. Therefore, a common man, even if he is semi-literate, he must be very technology savvy and he must understand these nuances. So my only take is on this. This is a very simple technical education, particularly elementary science, elementary mathematics. It must be taught and compulsory across the region, across the rural divide, because days ahead, we'll see this is going to be AI age. And in AI age, you will have to be at least a technology savvy. So therefore, my contention is that this education model, new education policy is there. But when I saw the report that North Indian, and the figure says that 76% students of North Indian states, they preferred arts subject. Conversely, 73% students in South India, they preferred science. Now, see that in the days to come, if this entire production mode is changed, technology is the power. In such a situation, I think broadly there should be a common education policy wherein technology must be taught to every student from class 5th to intermediate at least. So my contention is that in the days to come, this AI and particularly this Aadhaar. You know, the way when Aadhaar was introduced, even when computer, because I was working as an English reporter, I was working on typewriter. So one day I found it is very cumbersome process and I rejected. But subsequently, I adopted it. I am there. After 30 years, I am there. So this is how we initially opposed. I think that's a bad habit of we Indians. But now this is a situation that we must see 20 years down the line, 50 years down the line, where we will be. And today's young man, a boy, an infant who is born and who is 5 years old, he must be taught all this so that when he comes in productive stage, when he gains productive yellow cake stage, he is completely aware of technological intricacies and he doesn't share away. So my only contention is that India across the board, every student, every young man must learn this new technology, advanced technology, AI, and other such technical advancement which is going to expedite your governance process.
And I personally feel that that should not be difficult considering the fact that I think Indians are predisposed to very good maths and science. Even the former US President, Mr. Obama, had wondered why Indian children, even in America, do so well in maths and science. I think probably it's because of our Vedic background, which is broadly science-based. Not just that, if you consider that 40% of scientists in NASA are from India and probably 75% of doctors in the UK are from India. So I think by and large, our genes are quite oriented towards science and technological adaptation should not be difficult.
Very well said. You're right. But see what happens, there is an initial hitch. Whenever a new process is entered, I won't say that, I won't fault them for that. Now, you see Bangalore, all young boys in a hotel top room. You see from the window thousands of young girls and boys. They are rushing towards the complex, where all the top corporations of the world, their offices are there. Who are these girls and boys? How are they contributing to the? And you will be surprised to know the quality of research that these young men are churning out. Unfortunately, it is not patented in their name because multinational corporations, because they are spending, it goes in their name. Otherwise, Indian talent is unbelievable. And the CEOs you find in New York, Seattle or other places, who are those CEOs? Majority of them are Indians.
Absolutely.
Sundar Pichai, and he has passed out from here. So therefore, these Indian talent, I don't deny that. But only the initial hitch that we have, particularly new education policy, must take into consideration, and it has taken. I remember I'm a member of a board. So I remember that new education policy has given substantial space and policy formulation for technology education. So it must be expedited. And of course, so far as research are concerned, for research, I think the body is being brought into existence through a law. Yesterday, the cabinet meeting had decided that day before yesterday. And now a 16-member committee headed by Prime Minister will see the research in this country. That will be the pioneer governing body for that. So you can imagine that we are heading towards that at a very fast pace. But so far as public is concerned, and your radio is a most common broadcasting system which reaches everybody. So therefore, I want to make an appeal to the people that they should be afraid of technology. Use them, whatever age you are in, whatever age bracket you are in. You must be technology savvy and use this technology. This will benefit you no ends. So therefore, India is heading for a new era of technology, and days ahead may see something remarkable, different.
Absolutely. Well, to add to my own NASA and UK point, the Silicon Valley, as you almost mentioned, is also full of Indians, and that gives us a lot of confidence that when it comes to artificial intelligence or IT or being technologically advanced, we are now raring or roaring to go. We have almost arrived. India has almost arrived there. Thank you very much, Mr. Singh, and thank you very much, Mr. Jiten, for talking to us and sharing your views with us on the face authentication transactions through Aadhaar card. That was our topic today. Thank you very much, sir.
You were listening to a discussion on India's unprecedented digital progress with Aadhaar. The participants were Jiten Kumar Jain, IT expert, and N.K. Singh, political analyst. Lalima Aneja was moderating the discussion. This program is produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsatalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 92890 94044.